Heidi Hutner, and this is Coffee with H2. Today on our show, I'll be speaking with John Fenton. He's a farmer in Wyoming. His land has been deeply impacted by fracking. He'll be talking about that. He was also in Josh Fox's Gasland, his grassroots solutions project Play, and John's been featured in important photography by Lucas Folia and other interesting ventures. So, hi John, welcome on our show.
Hello, how are you?
Oh, it looks so beautiful where you are.
Yeah, we're having a really nice fall, and colors have just started to change. Still pretty warm, so it's a beautiful time of year.
It looks really beautiful. So, what are you doing some farming work today? Is that am I interrupting your day?
Well, just a little bit, but I don't mind being interrupted. I baled hay till about 1 o'clock last night, and then I've got about 35 acres of sorghum to cut yet today.
Fantastic. So tell us about what's going on in your area in Pavilion, Wyoming, and what's happening on your land because of the effects of fracking and other extractive industries.
Well, the drilling part of our gas field took place probably a better part of 10 years ago. So we're living in kind of a mature gas field right now. When you talk about unconventional gas, these wells don't last a long time. So it's not a shale type of field. We have tight sands. The wells decline really rapidly. So now we're kind of in this area where the wells aren't as productive for Encana Oil and Gas anymore. We're the last field Encana Oil and Gas owns in the state of Wyoming. So 10, 12 years ago, we put up with having drill rigs in our front yard and as close as 350 feet to our home, fracking continuous trucks for several years. It's almost like being under siege. So you kind of hunker down, you try to do the best that you can do because we're used to being by ourselves. We live in the middle of nowhere, really. And to all of a sudden have people and machinery around us all the time was really, it just threw our world kind of upside down. And we thought once we made it through that possibly things would, we wouldn't notice the stuff that they had done. But our neighbors first started seeing water contamination, where a well that people have been using for years, where the migrant farm workers used to stop there and fill their canteens up in the morning because the water was so good. All of a sudden it was black and smelling like diesel fuel. And we had air emissions all the time. They would drill a well and frack it, and then they would do what they call flowback, where they flow the gas and all the fracking fluids and sands and everything out of the well into open top containers. It vented into the air. We started to see health impacts. We really kind of left our old life behind and began a new life when all this started. It's almost impossible now to think back when we didn't have 180 gas wells within 3 miles of us. It's absolutely altered everything that we do. So it led me down this whole path of speaking about our experiences, of educating myself about what was going on around us, but also learning that we really weren't alone, that they were going all over the United States and the world promoting this. And there were all these stories that sounded like mine, that had that same sense of betrayal and being used up by a company, being an externalized cost, so to speak. And it drove me on to do the most that I could do to shed the light on this industry that makes their money off of destroying the earth and using the people on that however they choose and see fit. And it's not a good thing. No matter where I go in the world, the stories are the same, the accents and the people might be different, but the stories are the same. And for me to sit here and not do anything would just add to that crime. It would be one more thing. So I made the decision to put myself in this and to do whatever I could do. And it's been fantastic. It's been terrifying. It's changed everything about me. So it's hard to encompass just how broad of impact this has on the people that have to deal with it.
So what's happening now? Is there any way to remediate, to clean up the water, to clean up the land? What changes are you seeing? Anything positive that you can speak of, or is it really just kind of been this endless progression of negative impacts?
Well, I'll tell you, we had for years petitioned the state of Wyoming to come in with their Department of Environmental Quality and the Wyoming Oil and Gas Conservation Commission to take a look at some of the concerns that we were having. And we were met time and time again with responses such as, we don't have the resources, we don't have the manpower, we don't really think there's anything wrong. So we finally went, a very small group of us, myself and 3 of my neighbors, and then 2 ladies from a community up by Cody, Wyoming, who had been impacted by a blowout. We went to the Region 8 EPA office in Denver, and we told them what was happening. So we had a meeting with all the people there. They came out and did a ground assessment, and they came in and started to do a groundwater study. It wasn't a fracking study, it was a groundwater study. And through a number of years and multiple rounds of testing the water and drilling their own monitoring wells and testing the produced fluid that came out of the gas wells, they released a draft report in December of 2013 stating that there was groundwater contamination here, and it was due in large part to hydraulic fracturing and the practices of the fossil fuel industry. So we really thought that we had, reached a big milestone where at least we were confirming some of the suspicions that we had. And we thought that that would be a beginning of really starting to make some progress. But what it really did was it started this giant war. The state of Wyoming had always been adversarial towards the Environmental Protection Agency, but when they'd been proven to be wrong and that they hadn't been doing their job, all of a sudden our governor, Matt Mead, was flying to Washington, D.C. and meeting with the head of the Environmental Protection Agency and having private meetings with the oil and gas industry about what they can do to make this study go away. And they just continually hammered away on the Environmental Protection Agency until the Obama administration actually folded. They decided they weren't going to send their study through a peer review process, that they were going to not complete the study, and that they were going to turn it over to the state of Wyoming, who told us that they could complete and finalize an investigation and study by September of 2014. Okay. It's September of 2016, and I've yet to see a finalized report. So we have these people out here who not only shower in water, who could be questionable, but we have massive air impacts. Now, one thing they did do, which I find really interesting, is that when they announced this investigation, the governor assured us that, now we have the money because Encana Oil and Gas has given us money to conduct an investigation, and that all of a sudden they had all the expertise and all the knowledge in the world. The one good thing that they did do with some of that money was they offered a program that if you lived within a certain radius out here, that you could get a cistern put in at your home. Now, there were some stipulations because, according to them, they can't just turn public money over, which they considered the money from Encana now to be theirs and public money, to private people without some sort of return. So anybody who wanted that cistern had to sign a 40-year access agreement to their water well. And if you sold your place, that access agreement continued on to the next owner. So a lot of people took it, and rightfully so. People should protect themselves as best they can. I made the conscious decision, somewhat out of protest and somewhat out of just because I can put a cistern in myself if I want a cistern, to not accept their deal. Now, it got some people out of contaminated water. Water's hauled in now from the municipalities. It's definitely improved things in that aspect. We still, though, are stuck not knowing what has happened fully and what they're going to do about it. Mm-hmm. Now, I would say that you can't fix the groundwater. This is a very complex area. We don't have one continuous aquifer here. You used to be able to drill and get clean water anywhere from about 35 feet below the ground to some wells are as deep as 1,200 feet below the ground. It's all these little sand lenses that the water was trapped in. So now we're just waiting on the state. The state of Wyoming is really good at just stretching these things out, and people very honestly die sometimes waiting. People are sick, they have to resolve things, they move away, and a few people hold on forever trying to get an answer. And the reason the state does this is that 75 to 85% of our state revenue comes from taxing extractive industries. As you can see in the background, we've got good sunshine here, and it's sunny like this even in January when it's below zero. We have fantastic solar, we have fantastic wind reserves, we have an outstanding agricultural community, we have all these other things, but the state has put all their eggs in one basket and refuses to diversify our economy. So when anything threatens their friends in the fossil fuel industry, they're willing to go to almost any measure to protect them, even if that means running over the top of the citizens of the state.
Now, you've gone into the solar industry, have you not?
That's correct, yeah. You know, my son Jim grew up with not only seeing the land that he wanted to inherit as a young man and stay on being torn up, but to see his family all of a sudden kind of torn apart, and me being gone all the time, and still gone a lot, trying to do what I can do to help end this destructive industry. And he finally came to me one day, and he'd been thinking about what he was going to do after high school. And he said, you know, we know what's wrong. And we've been telling people what's wrong, but we can do something that's right. And he said, I want to go to this little school in Paonia, Colorado called Solar Energy International and study solar energy. And I thought, fantastic. So he went down and did that, and he came home and he got a job with one solar company in the area, and he's been working for a couple of years, and it just wasn't gratifying enough or satisfying. So he came to me and he wanted to start a company and do it himself. So he asked if I would help, and how could you say no to that? You know, and it's been one of the best things that I've done. I mean, we go put solar panels on a roof or a ground mount system for someone's home or for agricultural use, and it produces power, and it doesn't make a lot of noise. We didn't have to destroy the earth. We don't have to listen to compressors run. There's not toxic fumes venting from it. And it's really been a very positive turn of events for me. It's brought us a lot closer together. We get to work side by side, and we're directly, you know, doing something positive to create change. And on top of that, the solar industry is just growing by leaps and bounds. It's producing a lot of jobs, and I think it's the right thing to do.
That's very heartening to hear that there's something positive out of all this tragic story. Just one question I have. We have to go, and I'm deeply moved by all of this. So what about farming? You need water to farm. Is the water safe to use for the alfalfa? I know you grow alfalfa and other produce. So what are you doing about water in terms of growing plants and food?
We're really lucky there. We actually live where we have the largest irrigation project in the state of Wyoming. So all of our irrigation water is captured snowmelt runoff. So as long as Mother Nature supplies snow in the mountains during the winter, we're able to catch that snowmelt runoff and use it to irrigate our crops with. That's something that we've tried to help with the agricultural end of it. With the solar, is to use solar to power irrigation equipment to help bring more efficiency there. Excellent. Now, if we relied solely on groundwater for watering our crops like they do in the middle part of the country, say out of the Ogallala aquifer, we could not raise crops here with the groundwater. We've almost stopped being able to produce a garden here anymore because our water is so harmful. Now we actually haul water to water our vegetable garden with. But we're really lucky that we have this irrigation project. That's what keeps us going. But we have that 1,000-pound gorilla in the corner of the room, climate change, and we're watching that occur firsthand here. The one thing that this has done for me is it's wiped away the illusion that I walked around in for so many years. And I think that it's not even being guilty. It's just the way that people are. You have this sense of the way that the world is. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that is through the filter of corporate media and personal luxury items and things that you think are important. Well, when you start dealing with things that you can't live without, you really find out what's important. And so, it's given me a much clearer sense of what's important now. And that snow melt water that comes out of the mountains and we grow our crops with, to me, that's the real gold in this world. That's the things we can't live without. We can learn to live without oil. We can learn to live without a lot of things. But that clean water and the fresh air and the things that you can grow with your own hands and eat, that's the real value in this world. And that's the things that bring people together. That's the things we need to concentrate on. If you want to be a rebel in this world, plant your own garden, grow your own food, be an individual. That's independence. Don't rely on some corporation telling you that you need to buy something that was shipped in from 2,000 miles away. You've got to learn to use what you have. And if you learn that and you learn what's important, that's when you're going to be free. And that's when you can help other people. And that's when we all stand together and really do something that's important for people, that's profound. Drilling a hole in the ground and blowing the hell out of things, anybody can do that. That's savagery. That's human base instinct. To nurture yourself with real wholesomeness and to take care of your fellow human, that's where we need to get. And when people get there, you're going to find out that there's the good things in life, and those are the good things. And that's I hope that I can do one little thing to make that possible. And there's people all over the world working for that. And I'm so proud to stand with people like that. And I'm very happy that you give me the chance to speak with you, and I appreciate your time.
I appreciate your time. You're a poet. You really are. I could just listen to you for hours. Your message is so important because many of us are not farming and we've lost touch with the earth. We don't know how to fix things or make things or create anything with our hands. And this is so important. We need water. And I hope that we'll have that snow and that runoff that you have for a long time to come. With climate change, we'll see. But I'm very, very grateful for this opportunity.
Thank you. I am grateful too.
Yeah. Thank you so much, John.
Thank you, Heidi.
Good luck.
Thank you. Take care.
You too. So that was an extraordinary conversation with John Fenton, a farmer in Wyoming whose family farm has really been deeply, deeply harmed by fracking, by the extractive industries that have left behind major pollution. And I'm really extraordinarily moved at this moment by his words. This is Heidi Hutner on Coffee with Hx2, and please listen to more of our episodes. I have the luck and the gratitude and this wonderful opportunity to speak with true experts on sustainability and people who are activists and artists, and thanks so much for our time.